I feel like I like where this is going, and one of the things that I struggle with is just taking a work and getting it more finished. So I think for this session, I'll pretty much just be working on this one, some of the anatomy, some of the shading, and so I planned on doing just a bunch of quick sketches, but we'll just switch it up for today, and I'll try to do these more often. So, you know, I'd like to do a sculpting session once a day, but maybe that's, you know, like I said, most people don't follow through with their New Year's resolution. So I know if I set the goal too high, then maybe I won't follow through, and I'd like to follow through, but I'll try to do these quite often. Somebody says, I have to go draw now, but I look forward to your great painting. Good luck with best wishes. Thank you for the free content. Yeah, no problem. I hope you found it useful, and go make some great drawings. Somebody says, yes, a straight line reduces the variables of the shapes of the shape. Yeah, that's good. Good night, sir. Best wishes from India. I'm already learning so much from you every time. Well, good night. And that's very cool that there are people able to watch this from all over the world. Technology is truly incredible. Let's see, I'm going to look at the screen, because that sometimes allows for a better reading of what's going on. And when I look at the screen, I don't know why, but for some reason, you know, when you can see 2D on a 2D screen next to your image, it just becomes easier to see what is off. And I feel like this reference is cut, or the stomach kind of cuts in a little bit more. I'm actually going to get some shading around the figure. But I shouldn't start this, because whenever I start like shading like this around the figure, I get impatient because I just want to finish, and then the shading doesn't look that great because I didn't take the time to really make it perfect all the way around, or consistent all the way around. But we'll see if I can stick to it and actually shade around the figure in a way that's interesting. Happy and late New Year's. Yeah, Happy New Year's. For New Year's Day, so it's not New Year's Eve, but it's New Year's Day. So we have the first day, and we're starting fresh. Trying to be a little bit better this year than we were last year, hopefully, and learn a little bit more, do a little bit more. Yeah, you see already it's darker over here and lighter over there, so I'm already like switching things up. And one thing I do notice is that I'm my shoulders like getting sore, just because I'm just getting in the back of it. I'm just getting back into the habit of drawing, but I forget that when you're drawing, your shoulder does get sore. It's just different muscles. It's not heavy. It's just you know, you're holding up your arm and the pencil hardly anything, but I don't know if it looks better with the shading around there. Let's see, somebody says, do you prefer charcoal or graphite? Charcoal, probably, of those two. Graphite just smears and gets everywhere, and with charcoal I feel like you can you can seal the image, and it doesn't have that reflection that graphite has that just kind of throws off the values from certain angles. So if I had to choose to, but in my own sketchbook, I actually use a ballpoint, like a Bic ballpoint pen, more than graphite or charcoal, because with that you don't have to worry about smudging, and you don't have to seal it with anything. So that's what I generally try to do. Let's see, I'm gonna come in. Just gonna come in and kind of give a shading to the whole thing. And then I didn't grab an eraser, so I might just have to go grab one or something. Or maybe I'll just allow this to become a little bit darker. Yeah, getting a flat, even tone in graphite is hard. Yeah, that's true. Watercolor is good for getting flat. It's filled quickly. Yeah, watercolor is fun. Maybe I'll have to do that. Maybe with these drawing sessions, if I can keep it up, I'd like to do one a day, just a half hour. What are we at? Just half-hour drawing sessions. Because you know, what's half an hour in the day when I'm already on social media for more than that, just wasting my time scrolling. So I'll have to try to cut some of that time out and do more creating, or just getting to the, yeah, that's the thing with doing the background, is like if I do it to the point where it looks good, I just spent so much time just filling out the background when I could have been working on the anatomy or the shading of the sculpture. So that's probably why I get impatient. I'm just like, oh, I'd rather be working on other things. Somebody says, do you paint? Yeah, I have painted, and I was saying that one of my goals this year is to do one great painting, which is a pretty lofty goal, because most artists never do any truly great painting. Most paintings are okay, mediocre, and certainly all the paintings that I've done in the past are just okay. So if I could do one great, truly great painting, that would be a great thing for the year. But that means I need to practice, and that's part of what this drawing sessions are for. Get back into the habit of finding form and values. And drawing helps with sculpting as well. It's the same. It also builds that muscle memory. Somebody says, Happy New Year. I don't know if you talked about this, but how do you get the proportions of the body? I tend to struggle with proportions. Well, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to start up this is the proportions are tricky. You know, there's ways, you know, you can say, well, the greater trochanter, or where the hips end, is about half. So the groin, the crotch area, that's about halfway between the head and the feet. And if you can get that, then you're pretty much on the right track. But proportions are difficult, and it takes a while to get a sense of the proportions. But after you draw the body for long enough, I think when I did this, the proportions just kind of came along okay, which usually isn't the case. If it wasn't the case with this one, I just would have done another quick sketch until I felt like those proportions started to come into place. But it really is a lot of just repetition drawing and then checking yourself. So just do a drawing, check the proportions, see what you missed, like did you, and how you missed it. So did you draw the legs too short, which is a common mistake? Did you, like, are the hands too small? Are they too large? Like, in what way were you off? And then just do another sketch and just keep track of the ways that you're off, and check yourself by, maybe you could put it on a screen, or you can take an image of your drawing and overlay it with an image. There's a lot of apps that'll do that, of an image of the reference. And that way you can actually get a better understanding of where you tend to, or how you tend to skew the figure.
Pull this up just a little bit.
Somebody says, when you have a drawing idea, do you do a thumbnail or write it down so you don't forget it? Yeah, usually if it's just like the concept of an idea, then something that I want to do as a work of art, then I'll usually write it down first. So I have it written down somewhere. And then, if it's a sculpture, I'll actually usually start a maquette. So I usually don't go through the thumbnail process with sculpting. I usually go right to the armature, like a wire armature, and that kind of serves as the thumbnail, because if you just get the pose in place with the wire armature, then that's kind of the idea. And then it's in 3D space, and you can kind of play with the limbs and move things around in a way that you find interesting and good for that idea or concept. And that's what I did I did a sculpture, like a life-size sculpture, kind of sculpture. It was mostly a build of a nativity scene last year. And it started just with a maquette, or a little wire figures on a board. But with drawings, yeah, I guess if you're going to do a big painting, like I want to do a great painting this year, then I'll do several maquettes and studies and take reference images, and like I'll really try to invest time in the process before actually starting to sculpt, so that I give myself the best chance for success. Yeah, this lighting is tricky because it's not like what it is it's like a bunch of lighting from different angles, looks like. So they probably have a stream of lights over here all coming down. So it's just a little bit different than one consistent light source, which is kind of what we're used to with the sun and seeing things outdoors. So it's got a very artificial feel as the lighting, which is always difficult to replicate. But, if you're really paying attention, then you can still do it. I'm just not very good at the shading part of things. But I'm trying to, just trying to get better. Is it possible for somebody to sculpt but not draw? Absolutely, yeah. I think they inform one another. So if you practice drawing, it's going to help your sculptures get better, and same thing with sculpting. It's going to help your drawings. And there's a lot of artists that were, sculptors that also drew. They were good draftsmen. But there's a lot of sculptors that don't draw. And I know sculptors that aren't particularly talented when it comes to drawing, but they're great sculptors. So they are separate skills, but they definitely help one another. If you're good at drawing, that's going to translate well to help you learn to sculpt. Yeah, it would really help if I had an eraser, but because I feel like all my drawing's getting a little bit muddy. What art medium made you to start making art? For instance, I grew up watching cartoons and loved it. That's where my love of art stemmed from, even into other mediums and forms of art. Let's see. Well, I don't know. I just always have liked drawing ever since I can remember. I really liked having a sketchbook and just trying to draw people. I was never very good until I, got older and more disciplined and focused on learning the technique and getting art books and things. And there were people that shared books with me. One that really influenced me quite a bit was a book that was given to me by a member of the church that I go to, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he was a youth leader, and he gave me, because he saw that I was interested in art and he was an artist, and he gave me a book called Cutting Edge Design, and it was kind of like a comic book anatomy, and that one really influenced me because I liked how the forms were found, and I just found it to be really interesting and a fascinating way of drawing. It was kind of, exaggerated. These are like superhero things. Maybe that's partly why I really like drawing these exaggerated, almost superhuman physiques with bodybuilders and things like that. Very idealized. But that was a book that really influenced me, and was a resource that I really liked. So that style, I think, has informed my art quite a bit. But then I also, I don't know if it affected my art that much, but I liked things like Avatar: The Last Airbender was probably my favorite. What would you say? It's not. Well, it's an animated series, but I thought it was really well done, and the drawings and things are interesting. Kind of anime, almost an Americanized anime type thing, but in a way that I think felt less weird than most animes that I've seen. And just something that felt well done and well developed. Let's see. Would you consider sculpting wildlife in the future? I'd do it if there were, if it was a commission work. Somebody was like, "Oh, I have this horse that I really like, or I have this pet, and I'd like to commission you as an artist to do it." And I'd do it, and I'd do a good job. But it's not something that interests me. I just am more interested in people. I think people are more interesting. I think they're more impressive, beautiful. We relate to it more as people, and so I just don't have a big interest in wildlife or animals as much as I like people. I just like people more. Find them more interesting as subject matter. Was this the same book you used as a reference for the zombie sculpt video you did? Maybe. It very well could have been. I don't remember. Oh yeah, maybe for like beefing up when I was like trying to make it more muscular, like a zombie on steroids. That might have been. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. Though again, I was just earlier talking about this. Sometimes I forget like works of art that I've done just when you've done a lot, and then you see something and you're like, oh, I don't remember doing that. But yeah, I think it was. I think you're right. And it's a book. Maybe next time I'll bring that book up and show you guys. Somebody says, hello, how are you? I like your channel. Are there any art instruction books or textbooks that you could recommend for drawing and sculpting? Well, the sculpting book that I always recommend that I really like is it's called Modeling and Sculpting the Human Figure by Edward Lanterry. It's just a really good resource, and it's where I get most of the information, the technique information for my online sculpting courses. So just a great resource and highly recommend. For drawing, I like the Bridgman books. They're kind of classic drawing instruction. In fact, I have one that's within reach right now. Constructive Anatomy, but I think George Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life, I think it has a combination of like all of his books, and so that's the one I'd probably recommend. But his way of structuring anatomy and building up the forms is very sculptural, which is what I like about it. It's very what would you say? It like blocks things into their own categories in a way that's interesting and feels almost sculpted and 3D. And so he has a very 3D understanding of these forms, and that shows through in his drawings. And students always try to copy his works, and you can tell that they're copying George Bridgman, but it's very difficult to do a original drawing that's not a copy of George Bridgman that has that level of understanding of the forms. So that's why I really like George Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. It's just a great resource. So that's probably what I would recommend. Just a really fascinating book. Very worthwhile. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this live stream. Be sure to check out the links in the description and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more drawing sessions like this, as well as sculpting. Sculpting is what I usually do, but I'll be doing some more drawing this year, and so that'll be part of the whole art journey, and I'll try to keep you guys updated with that. As always, I hope you guys can stay creative and productive, and hopefully I'll see you again soon in another video. Thank you guys.